And screens up.
Screens
Cool.
up.
Word. Hey, welcome everybody. I'm Jacob from InnerSpark Learning Lab.
And happy Monday, y'all. My name is Darius Fake Cared. I'm from Matiq Labs.
Word. Thank you, Darius. We just have quick a little intro and framing we'll do, and then we will pass it off, and then we'll kick off the conversation with Jennifer and Caden. But just before we do that, for folks who might be unfamiliar with InnerSpark or unfamiliar with Matic Labs, I'll tell you a little bit about InnerSpark Learning Lab. I'm the founder, executive director. Started the org back in 2018, and we were known as STEM to the Future. But now we've rebranded to InnerSpark Learning Lab, and our mission is to ignite the inner spark of Black and Brown youth through culturally responsive education, critical inquiry, and real world problem solving. So like really working to make sure that school for sure, and just like youth development programs, like these places where kids spend their time and they're learning. How can we make sure those places that actually allow the kids to learn about themselves, who they are, who they want to be, who they need to be, and how can they use these things for learning to actually make the school, the community, the place they want it to be. But we, but in order to do that, first we feel like the school needs to be the place that the kids want it to be. So that's another reason we're really, really excited to have this conversation today. But with that, I'll kick it off to Darius.
Appreciate you, Jacob. So, Matiq Labs, we are a newly formed nonprofit based out of Oakland, California, and our mission is fairly simple, right? We really believe the world in which we live should be informed by those who live close to the issues we navigate, the institutions that support and serve our communities, and like those voices have the best solutions to it, including our students. And so when I look back at the work I've done in the past, working alongside other teachers, other school leaders, most importantly, like parents and students, we depend on these systems every single day. But rarely are those the voices at the table informing how we move, how we change, how we respond to what we're navigating, whether it's political climate, whether it is food insecurity, or whether it's just general sense of safety and sense of belonging. And so I'm really excited to partner, right, and highlight student voices in this work, but also not work in a silo, not be an island, work with other programs, other organizations, and other dope individuals like Jacob and his team. And so welcome everybody. Hopefully you have your hats ready to hear a little bit more about our orgs.
Word. Thank you. Thanks, Darius. And just a little backstory on Darius and I before we kind of jump into the framing and then pass it off to Jennifer Caden. We actually met. I was a teacher coach at Teach for America in Los Angeles, and this was Darius' second year in Teach for America, but my first year being a coach. And so Darius and I were, and feel free to jump in or add anything, Darius. But after having a coach for his first year, didn't feel like aligned with like who Darius was as a sound like as an individual, and didn't allow him to teach and be the person that he is and that he needed to be for his kids. He asked to be a pair with me. At this point, there's two black teacher coaches at Teach for America, one black male, one black woman. And so I was grateful that Darius requested me to be his coach. And then from there, that is, how we got connected. And then Darius, I don't know if you'd like to
Yeah,
kind of
I
add.
think I think a couple of pieces like just from that experience, right? Going into education, working in schools, we're not there to get rich. We're there because we believe in the power of students and the transformation of those communities. And so just like looking back at my experience, I realized everyone had a very negative outlook on my classroom. It's a little loud, it's a little noisy, students are moving and engaged. And I was like, there's a lot here that maybe you're not seeing. But my lived experiences inform me that there is something good going on. And I think just like pausing and getting past the frustration led me to say, I actually need to speak up and actually need to be the one directing the supports around me. And so using my voice and kind of like fighting the fear really requested what I wanted. I wanted someone who looked like me, who had a shared background and values and understanding and upbringing in this country to actually be the one to validate and say, hey, I'm doing a good job, or hey, I'm not. And I'm just thankful there was one person at Teach for America Los Angeles. And I'm proud to be an alum, but I'm even more proud to make sure the program worked for me.
Word. Cool. Yeah, now Darius is one of my closest homies, so it's great that we were brought together that way and then have been cool almost a decade later and now able to be able to do something like this, like align to our interests and the change we want to see in the world. So I'll make this quick so Jairus and I can stop yapping and turn it over to Kate and Jennifer. But just quickly, this is Inner Sparks, a theory of change. And today we are right here in the reflect and refine. Like if we want school, we want programs, we want them to be the places that, kids want them to be, kids need them to be. As adults, we can't just be putting our ideas of what we think success is or our ideas of what we think kids, students, young adults should be doing. Like that should be coming from the people in the program, the kids, the young adults. And so this is just the first of several conversations where we want to be able to talk to students well, for this one, talk to students and understand their experience and figure out what would actually make school a place that they're excited to come to every day.
I think like figure out what students want and how to make school exciting. We got to also really understand like where we are in our schools. And so when I think about like the two regions that Jacob and I and our organizations kind of like just inhabit, we think about Los Angeles, think of and we think about the Bay Area. The reality is enrollment is down 46%. Specifically at LUSD, which I was a teacher in, from their peak in the past 2 decades, right? And like half of these schools have seen enrollment decline by over 50%. And while we may think in the Bay Area it's a little bit different, Bay Area schools have experienced the third largest decline in student enrollment in California over the past 10 years. And we think about where our families are going, we think about what their voices are saying. They're leaving high cost coastal areas, largely populated cities for more affordable inland cities and states, right? And so as a result, these schools, especially the ones in my own neighborhood, are discussing like merging or closing schools just due to declining enrollment, limited resources, and just different budget concerns. And so while these shifts are like happening in real time, right? And as we navigated this article, Jacob and I, there's a voice specifically missing. And it's the voice of our students, it's the voice of our parents. And so what better way to respond and to react and engage in that call to action than actually hear from our students. So we're almost done yapping, and then we get to hear from Kaden and Jennifer.
And Salvion is here too.
Perfect.
Cool. Dej, do you want to talk about the next two slides or just want to
Abs-
jump to it?
Absolutely. The next slide is real quick.
All right, cool. This I could go quickly. And no, it's just a huge part of the work we do at InnerSpark is like we realize that we as adults, like we don't have the answers. Like we have some answers and we learn some things that we want to share, but also the kids we work with, the schools we work with, there's an abundance of knowledge and abundance of resources in there, like within the kids or within the school. And we just want to, in fact, our main goal is to help build the systems that allow the knowledge and the change to come from the people that come there every day and the people, come from our community. And so by doing that, by partnering deeply with schools. This is our first year having the specific type of partnership this past school year. And at ISF Inglewood, and there we already saw an increase in attendance in the school just by creating this one program that kids come to every day, once a week for about an hour. Uh, the school already started to see an increase in attendance. So now we're adding a Dreamweaver to that school to be able to bring more even personalized, make the school even more adaptive to the interests and the needs of the kids and the families. But even in our quick, or we even within a year's time, we see when you create these spaces where kids have a lot of control, they become more invested and more engaged in the school.
And so I think part of the work that Matiq Labs has been able to do in partnership with our board chair and Riverside here in Southern California, just like the biggest meta takeaway that I just want to like highlight, right, is when we go and engage teachers and we survey them, whether it's like quantitative, qualitative, we see how they feel in some pockets about their students, and that's in bold at the bottom, right? But then when we engage students, what we take away, students are actually saying the complete opposite. And so I think the first step is recognizing there is a gap between what our students are saying and feeling and what the adults and how we view them. And I think the first step to bridging some of that divide and informing our call to action moving forward with like a renewed sense of purpose is actually just to hear directly from our students. And so I want to have the honor of introducing two of our panelists. And so the first one is Jennifer Lico. Uh, Jennifer was one of my students as a teacher, and Jacob was able to observe her in my class. And I'm really excited for her voice to be in this space. So I'll let her introduce herself. Kaden is another one of our student panelists. Kaden is based in the Bay Area. Kaden is in high school, and Kaden is also a avid soccer fan. And then I'll let Jacob introduce our last panelist.
And then for our third panelist, we have Salvion, based in LA. Was fortunate enough to connect with him and his mom a few weeks ago, and I'm really excited just to have the space for Jennifer, Kaden, and Salvion to be able to talk about their experience. So with that, could we, Archo, just quick intros? You can say like your name. Well, they know your name, but you know it's worth saying again. Your name, your age, and what's something that you enjoy doing outside of school that you wish was a part of school? And Jennifer, could you start us off?
Oh, sure. Yes, I'll start us off. Well, hi everyone. My name is Jennifer. I'm a rising senior at UC Berkeley. And like Darius said, he was my teacher when I was in seventh and eighth grade, which is crazy to think about. I'm 21 years old. And something that I like to do outside of school is I like to go to different community events. So like and learn about like different people's cultures, different people's interests. Like last week I was able to go to a Buddhist temple and like learn about how that was. And I mean, I wish that was more part of school, especially growing up, in order for me to learn more about other people and where other people came from. I would have really appreciated that since we weren't really taught that at all. But yeah, I love learning new things, and I'll pass it over to Kaden now.
Thank you. That was a great introduction by you. But I'm Caden. I'm 16, a junior in high school, and one of my favorite things to do outside of school that I wish more schools would incorporate is culinary, cooking, like us baking especially, because those are like normal skills that the average person would need usually outside of school. I'm also a huge soccer fan, as Darius and Jacob said, but I'll pass it on to Salvion.
Hey, Salvia, you're on mute. Oh, hold on, I think I can. Let's see if that helps. Hold on, Salvia. You still on mute? Trying to see if I can unmute you myself. Where's it at on the phone?
I think you might have to tap your own face.
You usually have to, like, when you're on your phone, you have to tap your screen and then it should be at the bottom.
Tech support. Appreciate you, Kaden.
Well, now he might be frozen. All
Yep.
right, let's start a question and then we'll loop back to him. Do you have one you want to start, Darius, with, or you want me to go? All right, cool. All right, y'all. When Salvion gets back in, oh, here he come.
Can you guys hear me now?
Hey, perfect.
My name's Salvion. I'm 14 years old. I'm a leader of Students Deserved. What I like doing is, connecting with more people, and I like playing basketball. But one thing I would want at schools is like they could look more into like their BSAP program to learn about the culture and what everybody's been like going through.
Word. Appreciate you. Cool. So to get us started with our first question, let's just suppose, y'all schools got a huge check. What would you want the school to like, where would you want the school to put the money toward? Um, like what is something you think the school could put the money toward that would make more kids want to come to the school? And anybody could start it off.
If you guys don't mind me starting, me personally, I feel that a lot of schools they start off with good lunches, but as the year progresses, I feel they give smaller portions or worse like quality food, such as like uh the minute meals from like Walmart, if anyone knows what I'm talking about, like those dino ones. But I feel like they would need to put it into the checks of the teachers so we have more options and the lunches.
No, yeah, I agree with Kaden. I think that that's such a like smart and interesting thing to say too, because you know a lot of the students that come to school like they rely on their like the meals that they're given at school, and yeah, I don't know. I've always had that thought too that like even if it's just like a school lunch, it should still be nutritious and students should want to eat it. It's not just because they have to. So that was a really good point that you brought up. For me, I mean, one of the things that like I would have wanted a lot, or like I can imagine now, like especially because I also work with other students, now that I'm in college, is just more mental health support in schools. I think especially like there's always something happening, and even and which sucks, but especially right now thinking about like the political climate that we're in. I know that for a lot of students, even for me, like even though I'm an adult, like I'm still worried about things going on and I still need that support. So I can just imagine like younger students too, like not having that support in schools right now. It frustrates me a lot. And yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things that I would go into. And not even just for students, for teachers as well. For everyone at school, like all that support there. But yeah, what about you, Salvion?
I think that they should put money towards like programs for everybody to come together and like just all be one to like understand each other.
Yeah, I love those. I love that. I think I see a comment in the chat. I met one of our a good friend of mine, Eco, through culinary class in high school. And so, Kaden, I really appreciate that. And just that reminder of like where we start our relationships and the opportunities we had. And so a question that really comes to my mind is imagine school felt like a place where you, your friends, your siblings, right, were excited to go every single day. What would be happening there that's not happening now? And maybe I'll kick this off to Salvion first.
I think. Wait, can you repeat it one more time?
Of course, I got you. I got you. Don't even worry. So imagine school felt like a place where like Salvion, you, your friends, your siblings, every
Mhm.
day you guys are excited to go.
Yeah,
What would be happening in the school that would make you excited that's not necessarily happening right now?
I feel that there should be more activities for sports and stuff like that because it would impact a lot of people to like get better at what they love doing.
Maybe and Salvion, maybe because I'm appreciating your voice, but a follow-up question I have is, what are you gaining from playing basketball besides a good workout? Like, what are you learning from basketball? What's basketball teaching you about life?
It teaches me a lot of self confidence to never bring myself down and always like keep myself up.
I appreciate you. First on mute gets to go next.
I'll go. Sorry, Kaden. Yeah, I think for me, like one of the biggest things would be just like a space to build community in, because I feel like that's what we crave. Like as people, we want community, we want a space to be in, we want to be around other people. So if I'm imagining like, oh, like what would make me want to go to school every day, it would just be somewhere where I can go and like be myself. Like for me in high school, like I was able to be in sports, so I did like water polo and swim, which Darius was also a part of when I was doing swim. um and it's just I remember like having that feeling like, okay, every day like I get to go do this, but I get to see Sorry, someone put something in the chat. I will answer that. But like I get to see all these people who have the same values as me, or even if it's not that, like even if there were more clubs, more resources, more activities for people to do together, I think that would be really great. Um, Also as for the follow-up, should I answer now or should I wait? Or should I can answer now? Okay. How would you want to see mental health support something the school has to provide? You know what? I'm gonna let Kaden answer while I think on that, and then I'll answer it. But you can go ahead, Kaden.
All right, thank you. But I feel in my personal, one of my favorite things to do is like playing soccer because everyone has to work together. It shows teamwork. But something I like to do with multiple parts of my family, sorry for the stutter, is like swimming because it just brings all of us together, whether we're doing our own thing or playing together. Everyone has their own part and could do their own thing. It doesn't matter if someone has a problem, you could go to your own space. Everyone could be separate together. They don't have to be forced to do anything they don't really want to. It's just for your own benefit, really. It's not like something that's unnecessary or unneeded.
I love that. And I know Jennifer's about to pop back in, but I think the piece, Kaden, that really just sounds that resonates is everyone can be together, but also have their own spaces, right? Like we want to be in proximity, but I might need to tap out a little bit. So just like I appreciate that awareness. Um, and I'm also a fan of swimming. But Jennifer,
No, yeah, Kaden, I completely agree. I think that's one of the reasons why I love swimming too. It's it's great. But going back to the question, the follow-up question that I was asked, I mean, yeah, I agree. I have seen those things be inputted into schools, but I think that in my experience, what I've seen is that a lot of the times it's mentioned, but there's almost like what's the word? Like a stigma. So I think there needs to be like more conversations about mental health and like inputted, like not even just into those moments when they're explaining mental health. I think it would be good like to destigmatize mental health like in the classroom, um in maybe student events and things like that, in order for students to feel comfortable and safe being able to go to these places. um I think another way that it could be more beneficial is making it like as a group. When it was during COVID time, one of the school psychologists in my high school, she like took it upon herself to make a separate group outside of school for us to be part of in order to talk about how the how quarantine and everything was impacting our mental health, which again was not something that the school really helped her do. But the way that she did that, she had it as a group, like she made it seem less scary to join, but and at the same time, she was still giving us that information. She was still giving us like ways to take care of ourselves during these times, and like giving us also a space to have peer-to-peer support, so it wasn't always like, oh, like you're sitting in front of like a therapist or like a counselor and it's just back and forth. If that makes sense. But I think that in the end of the day, like it also just depends on what the rest of the students think. Because, and I don't know if Kaden or Salvion, you guys want to add to this too, maybe a way that you think mental health can be brought up in schools. But for me, that's what helps me, like having that destigmatization. That's what has always helped me. But yeah, I think it's just something that educators, not only educators, but I guess like the district should also ask the students, ask them like what we're doing right now, ask them why is it that you need this, or not why, but how can we help you? How can we make you feel comfortable putting you in these spaces? If that makes sense. But yeah, Kaden or Salvion, if you guys want to add something, I'd love to hear it. Or Darius and Jacob, you too. But yeah.
I feel that you summed it up really greatly, Jennifer. But if I had to add like one thing, I feel some schools do it, like such as my own school. I go to a school up in River Islands, and I feel they incorporate it very well. They have uh, staff almost always on hand to where you could come in during lunch or any kind of like passing period, and you could set a meeting online during school, after school, and it could be anonymous, non-anonymous, and they offer other things such as like stuff you'd need like inboxes, or if like for PE, for example, they offer things for like men and women. They offer hair bands, gel, all that kind of stuff that you would need just in case of like emergencies if you forgot yours. Simple things like that that could help them, like the average student that might be clumsy or forgetful.
Or yes, Salvion, would you add anything to that?
No, I have nothing. They both said it really well, so and I agree with both.
Okay, cool. I was trying to think of how to formulate this question, but one thing I was kind of noticing as all of y'all were talking was like you also have a really strong like awareness of who you are, like what you like to do. Um, how do you feel like school, and like I said, add on to that. And to me, that feels super important for anyone to feel to live like a fulfilling life. Like for you to know what is it that I enjoy, what is it that I want to do, and then to be able to put that into the world, like simply just to be able to do it. Um, are there ways that you've seen school allow you to learn about yourself? Or I guess actually, yeah, are there ways you feel like school has allowed you to learn about yourself? And if so, like what are those? And if not, how would you change school so that it could be more about who you want to be and perhaps less about trying to be something else, if that makes sense? Where if it does, Sally, would you mind starting?
No, yeah, I'll start. Really, they back in my old middle school, they would put you in like a lot of clubs so you could know what you like and what you don't like. And it helps a lot because I found out I like, computer like technology and all that. And yeah, pretty much.
Uh, I feel that my my school once again does it pretty well because they do this thing called like club week where they say it's a week, but it's really a month. They allow you to create any clubs or join any clubs and leave any clubs, so you could just adventure, see how you feel, see how you like it, and they allow you to try other positions too, simply just to let you get a chance to know yourself. And if I had to change like one thing about it, about school, to where it'd be more so yourself, I would change it to more so one of those private schools, to where instead of they're forcing you to go to a class or switching classrooms, it would be more so you could you don't have like a set schedule. You go to a class whenever you want, kind of like a college. You go into the class, the teacher will be for there. The teacher will be teaching either way, whether you're there or not. And you get to, if you don't feel like the topic, or you know the topic already, or you don't need to learn the topic, to where you could easily leave just as easy as you entered.
I think Pup agreed too.
Your dog agreed. Um, yeah, it's so interesting to hear from Salvia and Kaden, especially about like how the school puts that like or lets you do that, or especially with the clubs, because I think that honestly, like, well, I went to the same K through 12 like my whole life. Like I did not leave that school. So really I've only been to two schools, which is that one where I met Darius, and then UC Berkeley. And at both, I've had sort of the same experience, which is they're both very like social justice based, which is great. And so like especially growing up, that's how I learned that I really love social justice, that I really love doing these things, especially the academy that I was in. They would well, each academy had a different theme, and for us, like what we would do is and Darius, you can help me explain this too, since you know. But they would have us do like community service hours, like in order to graduate, like, but we would have to have a reasoning behind it and an explanation to why we were doing that so that we could really understand what it was that we were doing. Which was great. However, I feel like it was a lot of the times they only did that because it felt like they had to and not because they really wanted to. So like with clubs and everything, like we only had one club really, and I was in that club, but we only really had one club, and there wasn't really a lot of space, or even like I never learned how to you were supposed to start a club. I remember I tried and then I got pushed back on it. Um and yeah, I would definitely like I think try to change that. Like I'm really happy that like Kate and Savion, like you guys have had like these experiences, and it makes me have a lot of hope for like the new like schools, or schools now. Maybe there's a change there. But yeah, that's like the only thing that I would have really liked, or that would have really helped me like be able to find my interest and everything. A lot of the things that I had to do either came from educators who were passionate about it, like Darius. Like he made us do an assignment where we had to explain something to our whole class about something that we were interested in, and that honestly kicked off like my interest in a lot of things. And then a lot of the other things I did, I had to go find them outside. So it wasn't really the actual school putting in that effort. It was just certain educators and like us trying having to have that motivation to find something ourselves. But yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate so much of like what each of y'all are sharing. It gives me insight, and I wish I had like a time machine to go back in time and do things a little bit differently, right? And so, but for the teachers that are there, right, for Salvion and Caden and the folks who have children are watching and the other students who are watching, right? If teachers ask for your feedback regularly, instead of waiting for you to be a senior at Berkeley, right, or a graduate of their high school, what kind of questions would you want them to ask you? And how would you want them to respond? What would you want them to do with that information? Take your time.
If you guys don't mind me starting, my school does something similar actually. They do like normally teachers only do progress reports for students. Some students get called out to where they're able to do progress reports for teachers. And I was one of those students, and they allowed me to basically evaluate a teacher without them even knowing who was doing the evaluation. So it gave them an insight to see like you can't be doing anything like out of hand, because these are people you're with all year. Well, unless like absence of some kind. But uh, a lot of the time when something like that would happen, they would usually, I would see that most teachers would say the same, but very few who were doing things that were out of hand or uncalled for, like favoritism, stuff like that. It would stop near the progress reports,
I,
causing.
That's
Oh,
really I
sorry.
like that.
I like it as well. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I love hearing that. Kate, I got a follow-up. I'm not even gonna let Jennifer and Salvion jump in yet. One follow-up question is, was it every student, a subset of students that did that evaluation, or was it just you? And maybe like why was it you or multiple students?
It was multiple students to answer your first question, and uh, the reason it was the reason. Sorry, the students that did it. The students weren't picked just randomly. They weren't just picking any like students, but they were picking students that the higher staff, like the counselors and the admin, have seen like noticeably doing like good or paying attention to smaller details.
I
And
appreciate
sorry about that little leave of absence I had to do. My grandma needed something off the top shelf.
and you gotta help grandma out. No worries. No worries. But I love what you shared, Kaden. And I'm curious, Jennifer, Salvion, y'all thoughts, maybe adding on to Kaden or something that you would look for, and how would you want teachers to respond? And I can always repeat the question too.
Can you rephrase your question?
Absolutely.
Sorry, I'm not like my brain isn't processing it
No,
correctly.
no worries. No worries. So if teachers wanted to really know what their students are thinking, feeling, and how they're doing, right? How they're doing as teachers, how they're performing as your teachers, what kind of questions would you want them to ask you, right? And then what would you want them to do with that information?
That's a good question. I think that for right now, I don't really have a specific question, but I think in the way that they would do it, that I have not necessarily in school, but in other environments, something that I've really liked is at the beginning, for example, maybe giving out a form and being like, oh, like, let's say you're taking English class, like, oh, welcome to English, like intro to English, I don't know. And being like, what are you looking forward to? What's something that you're I really like when they ask what's something that like not you're afraid of learning, but something that you feel like is going to be difficult for you. What's something that comes to you easier? What questions you have and this stuff, and then really going over that. A lot of the graduate student instructors here at Berkeley do that with like their discussion sections when it's like a smaller group of students in order for them to get back to them and like learn more about the group that they're working with. And then they have one mid semester as well where the students can reflect on that and then ask like and just reflect on what they had just previously said. So the same thing, what's how do you feel about this thing that you were scared of earlier? What have you learned? What do you need help with? And then again at the end asking the same thing to reflect on the class as a whole. I personally really appreciate that just because it makes me feel that they're constantly wanting to hear from us at least because I think well you're a student for a whole year. You're not a student just for one day, right? So like your thoughts they change on the class they change, your understanding of the class change, like everything changes. So yeah, I don't really have a specific question that I think teachers should ask, but I think that just that manner of doing it or that forms that they do that has really helped me before.
No, I hear that, Jennifer. It's like a question, but also like a process. How are teachers
Yeah.
constantly learning in the
Yeah.
adapting for sure. Cool. And this Savion, how about you?
Uh, they Jennifer and Kaden, they both said it perfectly. I just think that they should check more on like classes, like make sure you're not struggling, you're on the right track. So you'll be like,
Cool. Katie, you want to mute just a second too soon, I think. We can catch the tail end of it, and then I do have a follow-up question for you.
oh, I said like they both said it perfectly. I agreed with like both of their sayings because like they should like follow up with students a lot to make sure they're on the right track.
Cool, cool, cool. But no, and then in your intro, I know you were telling us that you're a part of Students Deserve. What is something, and Jennifer was part of Students Deserve back in the day. Jennifer, you had back in the day age on here. But that's okay. But Salvia, what would you say is something that you have like organized for or against through Students Deserve has made that has made school more a place you want to be, or that like at least gives you maybe it gives you hope, or maybe it doesn't. That schools could change and actually be a place that is more aligned with the place you want it to be.
I feel like they should have more staff that could like protect you because with my incident, I didn't really get a lot of like help with it. Like nobody was there to help or anything until afterwards. So I feel like there should be more staff who are like more, into like protecting their students and like protecting kids. So like that could happen to nobody, like no other kid. So they can all feel safe.
Word. And is that something you have like with Students Deserve? You've been like working to try to get schools to incorporate?
Yes, yes, I have.
What's maybe just a little tell some folks a little bit about what that process has been like, because we're on here talking about what we want schools to be, but
Mhm.
also there's kids out here already working extremely hard and organizing to make it that place.
Mhm.
So you can just tell folks a little bit about kind of what that process was.
Really, the process has been a lot trying to, you know, just make more staff members care. Like because at my middle school, there was no staff that looked like me at all. So it kind of feels like a little off to me. And really they don't protect the students like that, like how I want them to protect the students.
I appreciate that, Salvion. I think a lot of times when teachers go into the schools, we're looking to see like, oh, does the school look like me? Do the students have similar experiences as me? Can I connect? Will they connect with me? And so Jennifer got to experience, me as a first year teacher and terrifying. And so my next question, I'm really curious around like, what's the biggest advice that you all have for folks who care, right, about students' experiences, them being comfortable, them showing up? Um, a lot of times people think school is solely about what you learn, A's and B's, math, all those pieces, but kind of all the things you shared had nothing to do about the content. And so maybe y'all can just give each of you can maybe take, a couple seconds think through, but like what is the biggest piece of advice you have for any adult that's watching this or going to schools or working with you, young people um, to be better supports to make sure, like Salvion said, students are safe, their interests are heard. And so just a bit of advice that you all have. Maybe we can kick it off with we'll kick it off with Jennifer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I keep always thinking back to you because you're like in my head, you're like, oh, that was one of my favorite teachers, right? Um, but I mean, I think my biggest piece of advice just to that would have helped me feel safe, like I know would have helped me feel safe in an environment. Something you did too, um, was, just really like sitting down and just listening. And I know that's like it's easier said than done. I feel like that's easier said than done, like, oh, just sit down and listen to your students. But I think like in a lot of the classrooms that I had been in a lot, it's just like, oh well, um the teacher is the one who's teaching, the teacher is the one who does all the talking, the students just sitting there, ask questions if they have to, answer any questions that the teacher has. But I think that's something that really helped me was getting the opportunity for me to talk about something that I cared about, and then really being able to share my feelings about that, and being able to share what my values were to that teacher, being able to share my own experiences, and all that to the teacher. So like going back to what I mean by advice is just really like I guess make us or try to create a space in which your students can feel safe talking about the things that maybe school wouldn't want them to talk about. um because, and this is something that I had said before as well, like we're not just students, right? We're not just students, we're people. We're having the same worries and even more worries than a lot of our teachers are having, right? So it's just to acknowledge that. But yes, next.
Uh, I'll go. I'll go. I agree a lot. Like to talk about something, like with a door, something you should be able to like talk it out and feel comfortable, like when you say it. So so you can have a lot of trust for people.
To add on a little bit to what Salvion was saying, I feel that adults uh, and teachers should like be able to see the kids of this newer generation as no longer just kids. We are a lot more advanced than a lot of people give us credit for, and some people, especially teachers in like high school, see us as still students, but or still children. I mean, but reality, we're young adults. We should be able to speak as such, be able to speak to other adults as young adults, not as a child or someone you should be able to talk down to. Kind of like how Salvion was saying.
Yeah, I really appreciate what each of you shared, and I think like for us, and maybe just like to extend one aspect, I think yeah, we definitely have to do better jobs at listening to the youth in the future, right? To be able to connect, to be more informed. But I think what we do with that information, right? What we do with that knowledge, right? How we act upon that knowledge, I think is something that I want to see more from teachers from my community. That's not work for you all. That's more of a call to action for my tribe. So I just appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, it's like if we're gonna create any changes, and if they're gonna come from the youth, like the kids gotta feel comfortable. They gotta feel like they can share. Like they can share. It will be they will be listened to, and something will be done with that information. Whether you're a kid or an adult, I'm sure you've if especially if you've gone through public education in America, like you've been in a place that feels like you even if you can voice displeasure or have feedback or critique, it I know I saw it as a teacher and as a student, it just feels like it falls flat and no one does anything with it, which is almost more frustrating than just people not asking at all. Okay, cool. I have one maybe quick question, and then if folks have anything they would like to ask, please drop it in the chat, and we'll make sure to ask our panelists. But one other question I have is who are other people, like we've been talking a lot about teachers now, but who are other folks that maybe exist in the community or just like outside of the school that you wish play more part of the school, whether it be like teaching or coming in kind of like a mentor or whatever it might be, teaching you their skill. Who are types of people that aren't like teachers, that everyday teachers that you wish you got more exposure to within a school? Or not. You might be like, you know what, the teachers are cool. Like, we don't need anybody else.
If you guys don't mind me starting, I'll start. But I feel that there are quite a couple people that were like big mentors that weren't actual teachers in my life. Because there were some teachers that left a big impact on me. But I feel a lot of the people who made like the biggest impacts are friends, family, and soon to come friends. Like because my coach, right? He is one of the definite biggest mentors in my life. He helped me through a lot of things like my anger, my teamwork skills, a bunch of different things. But he wasn't there. He can't be there forever and always because he's a coach and nothing more. He's nothing more than a coach. He can't become a teacher. He can't become this, can't become that. Outside, he's just someone else, just another guy, a passerby, even.
Uh, I want to add on to what Caden said. I agree with him about having his coach as a mentor because that's the same thing for me. My coach was a mentor. Like he helped me with my self confidence issues because I used to have really no confidence in myself to play that sport. But he always brought me up and he always made me keep my head up no matter how hard it got.
Yes. My coach was also one of my mentors. But I think someone else that I would have brought in would be my family. Because, they also play a big role in my education and learning about how to help me and how to help themselves in the process as well. Um, Being a parent to a student, right? So I think that having them in the school, like, or even be part of learning more about what it is that we are actually doing at school, it would have helped a lot.
Yeah, I appreciate that, y'all. I know there's some folks in the chat that also have some specific questions. I don't know if y'all can see, but I have like the most recent one up, so I'll just go from bottom up. The first question, what has been your favorite part of the panel? This is just for the student speakers, not for you, Jacob.
Yeah, I'll go first. I think, well, my favorite part and the part that made me the most excited was really just hearing from Kaden and Salvion. Just because, like, I know, like, we're at different points in our education, but it's been really interesting, and I've been super interested since the beginning. Like, just like learning more about them and learning their perspectives and seeing ways that we do relate, even if we are in different points. Like, I'm 21. I think Salvion said he's 14 and Caden's 16, I think. Like that's just crazy. But I love it. And I love that like we built a little community here as well.
I feel that my favorite part of the panel is definitely like how interactive it is. Anyone of anywhere, it doesn't matter how you say it or what way, you will all be able to see what you said, respond to what you said, be able to treat you as an equal, even though we might not even be in the same place, same area, or speak even the same language. That's just because tech has come so far.
My favorite thing about the panel was connecting with everybody in here and just speaking on how everybody thinks and how we're all like pretty much the same with all our interests and stuff like that.
Or yeah, appreciate y'all. Yeah, it's like there's two just common thread of like with you Caden is other people be able to just hear from this, and be able to pick up the gems that y'all drop. And then with Jennifer and Salvion, like just the fact that you can connect with other folks and then be able to share what you're experiencing is something that is exciting, which I know as a teacher, when I was a teacher, we never had something like that in our school where kids could just come together and share their experience. So it's just the act alone is something that already kind of creates investment with across everyone. Okay, cool. One other question we have is when you think about the teachers who have made a difference for you, what was something specific? What was something that specific they did that made you feel seen and cared for? So when was a time a teacher made you feel seen or cared for?
Okay, I'll start. So I feel a time when my teachers really made me feel seen and like really cared for is we were going through a very big test, and I was like, I this didn't happen to me, but my friend, his dog was ran over, right? And we were going through this like one of the biggest tests of the year that wasn't like the map or the SAT. So he if he did leave for the test, like he couldn't miss the day. He couldn't stay home for emotional damage or anything because it happened the same day. Yeah, it was bad, but he literally had to see it because he took the dog out, and then somebody was driving and they came on the curb. They hit it on the curb. So he wasn't. It's not like he was walking in the street or nothing. He was on his sidewalk doing his own thing, but then he hit it. He couldn't leave school. So, but the teacher was allowing him to come back and take the test another day. But like she's seen how like distressed he was, so she gave him a like option, and she was like, are you okay? Do you need help? Do you need to be walked to the office? Do you need to sit in the counselors? Like he literally started tearing up because how cared for he felt. He didn't feel seen because no one else really seen it other than like our main friend group, but he felt seen for like the first time in that class. So she allowed like me and a few others to like walk him down to the office. He was able to get picked up. He was able to retake the test another day. And once he had a clear mind space, he got a full 100 score on it. He perfectly aced it.
I think we got time for maybe one last. Oh, go ahead, Salvia. You got it.
Oh yeah. I'd say a time is when in seventh grade, my grades weren't really the best, but I always had my counselor who was always there for me. She'd give me like lectures and advice to do better. And I ended off my seventh grade year with really good grades.
And Jennifer, if you want to take us home.
Should I answer the same question? Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, I've been mentioning Darius so much, so I'm gonna mention you again because you deserve to be mentioned. Just to make a long story short, the whole reason I was put into Darius's class was because I got kicked out of another class when I was in seventh grade, for standing up to a teacher who was doing something that was very unfair to a student. And I don't know if you remember, Darius, but when I moved to your class, I was very like I've always been very outspoken, very like I don't like if something's going on wrong, like I don't care, like I'm gonna say something. And I think that the way that you allowed me to express that in a way that was healthy for me, it really helped me. And I think that that really changed my life and helped me get on the path that I am now. Like I want to go to law school, I want to be a lawyer, I want to do just exactly that. So that's something I think about that made me feel seen and cared for.
I appreciate you, Jennifer. I think it's easy for teachers who care about students to, when you hear their voice, your heartstrings are pulled, but you also see the opportunity. And I think today's opportunity is to, one, highlight your voices. So I definitely just want to like say, Caden, Jennifer, Salvion, I just appreciate your time, but I also appreciate like we appreciate your vulnerability. Like put yourself out there to be able to name like this is my experience. These are the crappy things that occurred. These are the ways in which my life has molded me and formed me to have this perspective. And you offering it to us as adults is valuable. That knowledge is sacred and it's meant to be shared. I also just really want to just put out like 2 cents to say thank you to the questions in the chat. Like I think it helps round out a little bit of our vision. Um, but then I think the last part that I'll share before maybe Jacob closes out, this is just the first part, right, of our work together, this opportunity to collaborate in a 4-part series. And so we're looking to engage um, not only students, but the same group of folks that we've been talking about, parents, teachers, and then wrap up our summer with convening a lot of the learned gems, the things that we've picked up, and just also being able to like identify, hey, this is what we learned, this is what we want to apply, and this is how we move forward collectively as a community. And so I just appreciate everyone's time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I echo pretty much everything Darius said. And just again, Jennifer, Caden, Salvion, appreciate y'all so much for pulling up and just provide you being vulnerable. Like I know neither one of us like work in your schools, but nevertheless, like the things that y'all have shared with us, I know we as a at InterSpark are using that to inform our own programs and the work we do in schools. And I know Darius and Matiq Labs will be doing that with the teachers they work with. Um, so yeah, just again, we appreciate y'all. And this wasn't that and from Darius and our perspective, like this wasn't hard to do. Um, this was not difficult. We were able to. Darius knew Jennifer, but Caden and Salvion, our first time meeting them was when we set this up. Just being able to ask folks and get connected to them, and then boom, we're able to bring it together a group of kids and young adults to be able to talk about their experience, so we can learn from it and do something with it. So I know as like educators, we got a lot on our plate, but if we're not going to teach in a way that is getting at what we're hearing here from the kids, from the students, the young adults, what's the point? Because then we're doing it for us or someone else and not for them. And to me, and it sounds like what they're saying, like that's not creating an environment where they want to be at. An environment they give them what they need to give them what they need to do what they want, what they need. My just call to action. You heard a lot of you heard a lot of specifics from Jennifer, Caden, and Salvion, but we gotta create spaces to learn from the folks who come to school every day and then do something with that information. So appreciate y'all again. Much love, Jennifer, Kate, and Salvian. We'll make sure to reach out to y'all so we can get you your stuff. And I'm glad y'all three are connected now. But so y'all got a community, and y'all know if you ever need anything from Darius or me, we right here. And we might need something from y'all. Sounds like y'all are going, already at big places and going even further places. So we could use your help too. So much love, everybody, and peace.
Peace, everybody.
Thank you everyone for joining us today.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.